And welcome
to another Justice video.
So, after a long wait, the Snyder Cut has finally come out. We were finally able to watch it and enjoy its amazing storytelling. Oh my god, Cody, I loved it. What did you think?
As someone who's never even seen the Whedon cut, I thought the Snyder cut was amazing. And I wasn't even mad that it was 4 hours. I was like there for it the whole time.
I think too, in today's streaming world that we live in, it exists very perfectly. I think it would have been harder for this movie to exist in the theaters. To sit through it for 4 hours in a movie theater, that might have been kind of difficult.
You can't pause it, you can't get up at all, you can't do anything.
Yeah, so this was the perfect time for it to come out too. Dude, I have to say, me seeing both versions, the Snyder Cut is completely different. We got a completely different narrative here. I could almost compare the original or I don't even want to call it the original version.
No, that's what I've been trying to avoid too.
I almost consider that version it almost feels like a high budget YouTube parody compared to what the Snyder Cut was. One thing that was completely different, just right off the top of my head, Cyborg. Dude, he was the heart of this movie, and that was not the case in the other version.
I know, he was so important to so much of the stuff that was going on, oh my gosh.
And I really enjoyed it. It gave so much depth to his character.
Having only seen this version where he has a good storyline, I can't imagine it without that. I can't. It needs that in there. And the fact that that wasn't in there in the Whedon cut, what were they thinking?
If you watch the other version, that's what you're gonna be thinking the whole time. How did this fly? How did this ever get out into existence? How was this out in theaters?
Something I loved with this movie too that I really want to bring up is it seemed like one of the major themes was you are not alone. They even had the suicide prevention billboards and stuff that I saw. Dude, I saw that and I was like, oh wow.
Well, that's what Zack Snyder's all about. His late daughter Autumn, the movie was dedicated to her, I believe. So yeah, those tones are very important to him, and which is awesome because those are tones that are very important to our band. Those of you that don't know, we're in a band. That's why the channel is titled JustisBand. But yeah, those things are very important to us as well, and we like to put that in our art. So I respect that. That was cool.
And I want to say Barry was great too. I feel before what I had seen of Barry and stuff, I wasn't super happy with how they pulled it off, just from the stuff that kind of bled through to what I had seen. But oh my god, I loved him. Especially the scene with the car crash. I thought that was super interesting because something I thought about, two things I thought about with that, how he super duper carefully handled her, because it's if you do something wrong moving at that speed, they're gone. And so what I thought is did he have a bad experience with that sort of taught him a lesson? That was an interesting spot my brain went.
Yeah, because you can tell that this is a very new Flash. I don't even think he has the name Flash yet. Those of you that watch the CW Flash TV show, you'll know that this Barry Allen, this version of him, the Ezra Miller Barry Allen, meets the TV Barry Allen in a huge crossover. And they're checking out each other's suits. They're oh, you have a cool suit. And Ezra Miller's Barry Allen is oh, the Flash, that's a cool name. And so if they decide to keep that canon and say that the CW verse is just happening on another Earth, then you could say that he got his name from the TV show Barry Allen. Yeah, but to go back to what you were saying about the car crash scene, dude, that entire scene was cut out. Part of it was in the original trailer, and then we never saw it. And that, I believe, is supposed to be Iris West. That's his love interest in the comics, so that's an important thing to his character.
That's the second thing I wanted to bring up, because with the way he was looking at her, because something I had seen was that at that point, they weren't supposed to have known each other at all. But it made me sort of think of he has this rule about not messing with time stuff. I wonder if that has to do with it. Why he instantly started oh, you know what I mean?
Well, honestly, I don't think his issue with time travel has happened yet. I think he's just been scared of it because it's the unknown. And I think when he charges up the mother box, he misses his opportunity to charge it. And so time slightly reverses so he can get it. And I think that was the first time he saw and wielded his time reversing capabilities and was like, oh. And then that, I believe, is why at the end he was able to like save the apocalypse from happening, because he was like, I've done it. I've seen this work before. I think I can do this again. And then furthermore, I believe that is just a setup to the Flash movie coming out, which is going to most likely be about the Flashpoint paradox. And that's all about Flash going back in time to prevent his mother from dying, and he completely screws up the timeline. So I think, this is all setting that up for him, hopefully, if they continue to go along with these things. So yeah, let's talk about the dream sequences, right? These crazy dreams that Batman keeps having. They have been tripping me out from the beginning, right? So let's go back to Batman v Superman. He has one of Barry Allen coming from the future, and he's like all armored up, and he's like, Lois, she's the key. And then in this movie, Cyborg, he gets a vision of this same nightmare future that Batman has been getting. So I thought that was very interesting that they're getting visions of the same future, but from different sources, it seems like.
And I thought it was really interesting how the Kryptonian ship was like, the future is now the present, or like something like that. Like, that was a trippy line.
Yeah, the Kryptonian ship is what gave Cyborg that vision of that future, and is like, oh, congratulations, you have ignited that future. You did it. So another awesome thing that the Snyder Cut had that the other version didn't have, we got Martian Manhunter.
That first time he showed up, I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Then he shows up to Batman. He's like, I'm here to help. I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
We did get a little bit of Green Lantern. It wasn't the cameo I was expecting. It's funny because right before me and my girlfriend were about to watch the Snyder Cut, I was like, they're supposed to unite the 7, but if you realize there's only 6 of them. Typically speaking, the other member should be Martian Manhunter, but I told Melinda, I was like, they're not going to put Martian Manhunter in it though, because I don't think anyone knows who he is, so they're probably just going to use Green Lantern. And then Martian Manhunter showed up, and it was awesome. And so the reason I wanted to bring him up right now too is because I'm kind of getting the vibes that he has been the one giving Batman these visions of the future. Because think about it, where else could they be coming from? I think in Batman v Superman, that really was Flash coming from the future. I think that was real. But the vision that Batman had in this movie, the one at the end of the movie where he's with his dream team of his like worst villains, I believe that was Martian Manhunter putting that dream into his head, because he's a telepath as well. But it begs the question, where would Martian Manhunter be getting this information? Where would he know of this dark side future? So there's still a lot of questions to be answered, but I just thought it was so curious that the Kryptonian ship gave Cyborg the vision of the same future that Batman is getting visions of. That's creepy, man. That makes it feel really real.
Yeah, with the multiple sources, it's like, okay, yeah, this is legit. This isn't some BS someone's trying to mess with us with. Like, no, this is what the future is, you guys.
Just before we move on from Martian Manhunter, I just wanted to mention how he was the general that whole time. He was in Man of Steel and he was in Batman v Superman, so he's been there the whole time. They completely cut that out of the other version. We didn't get any Martian Manhunter. I thought that was so awesome. This feels like a big universe they could set up,
Yeah, and with the general too, I feel like even in that first appearance, he knew it was gonna happen. It wasn't something that happened once they woke up Superman. He knew from the start that like Lois is gonna be important.
Yeah, see, isn't this weird how much he knows?
It is.
And
it almost makes you wonder if he's from the future somehow.
Yeah, like, interesting.
You know what I mean?
It's
but
curious
I don't know.
how much he knows and how much he has stayed out of it.
Yes. He's been very hands-off. From what we've seen, at least.
Maybe he's playing like a very strategic game of chess. He didn't completely stay out of it, because he got Lois back in the game. That was a small move he made. Maybe Martian Manhunter got a visit from Future Flash as well.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't just Batman he visited. Because it is interesting, because with the Flash, you see it's a lot more circular than, hard angle back and forth, you know what I mean, which I like. So it's like, I feel like he wouldn't have just run to Batman, told him something, and then come back. He probably did like a lap to different people, you know what I mean? Just tried to get as many people to be like, hey, something's happening, send out as many 911 calls as possible.
Time travel is very confusing, and I don't think it's an exact science to Barry yet. So he might not even be ending up in multiple places on purpose. It might just be him trying to get back to his starting spot. Oh, another little trippy thing is that pregnancy test that you saw in the drawer with Lois.
Yes, dude, that tripped me out. Like, I had to go back. Like, because I saw it and was like, wait, was that a pregnancy? So I went back like 15 seconds. Oh, wow, it was. What the?
Yeah, and then the congrats from Batman at the end, that's something that wasn't in the other version as well. Like, Lois is probably pregnant. We're probably getting a little Superboy on the way, which, you know, in the comics doesn't always turn out the best, but it's still exciting.
And I gotta say, from the pictures I've seen of the Whedon cut, Henry Cavill's upper lip looks way better.
It was a serious annoyance of the last version. It was the first thing I noticed of that movie, because the very first scene was like this cell phone image of Superman before he died, telling them to not give up on hope, or it was some kind of message, and his lip looked all weird, and I was like, why does like Superman look all animated and off? But I was like, maybe it's just because it's a cell phone clip. And then, dude, he looked like that throughout the whole movie, and I'm like, what's going on? Why does he look like that? Why does he look all CGI'd? Dude, like, Superman's been my favorite character since I was a kid, and I've been waiting for a live action Justice League. What the hell did I just see?
Yeah. This might be backtracking a little bit, but there is one thing I want to say for like the Martian Manhunter and everything like that too. When they're walking through what's gonna be the Hall of Justice, and Diana's like, with room for more. I think that was a good line.
We need our lanterns, we need our Hawk people, we need the Atom, Ryan Choi. He was the director of nanotechnology. Looks like they're gonna set him up to be the Atom. The Atom is such a cool character. I'm really excited to see him in the future. Well, if they continue things, that is. But yeah, there's so many more characters that they could add to the Justice League. So, you know, we'll have to see. Let's move on to the ending of the movie, right? So let's start with Lex Luthor. He meets up with Deathstroke, Slade Wilson. And dude, let me just mention, Lex Luthor, he was looking good. He was reminding me of the same style that the Lex Luthor in the old Superman movies had. So I thought that was cool. And then Deathstroke, his suit looked so good. And then, oh my god, Lex gives Deathstroke Batman's real name.
And then it comes like even crazier when it gets to that future part in the ending too. And then like he's right there next to him and it's like, oh, I wonder what happened there then. You know what I mean?
So going on to Batman's nightmare sequence, clearly the world is screwed up in all kinds of ways. I mean, Aquaman was killed by Darkseid. We have Flash in his armor, like that same armor that he was wearing when he showed up to Batman in Batman v Superman. We have Mira upset about Aquaman's death. We saw Wonder Woman was dead, and then we have two of Batman's greatest enemies on the team, Deathstroke and Joker. And you know, Joker, we totally got trolled. Joker's line was not the same that it was in the trailer, but oh my god, it was better. Like his little monologue there was, oh, it was so good.
Like it made me more confident in the theory that Joker is Robin, honestly.
Dude, me too. I was like, the whole time that's all I could think about. I was like, I know they're not going to give it to us, but like it's teasing it so hard.
And like I loved that moment when Batman brought up Harley Quinn.
He's like, he almost got me. This totally made Jared Leto come off as a way better Joker. No tats, his tone, the way he was talking, his confidence, all of it. I really liked it. The deal he made with Batman.
The Joker card? Yes. What did he say? Like, as long as you have this, it's a truce. But once you tear it up.
Yeah, he'll know the truce is over. And I believe meaning they can kill each other and stop working together. For whatever reason, they're working together. Joker's lines were very interesting. The way he talks about this world is one that Batman created.
Because he didn't have the cojones to die himself.
Yes. Dude, to me, I was like, could Zack Snyder in his head be wanting to set Batman up for like a Tony Stark type death? Like, is Batman gonna have to die at the end of all of this to save everyone? And so I thought that would be pretty cool. I mean, you know, it'd be sad to lose Batman, but I think for his character arc, that'd be super interesting. But it also made me wonder, in what way would Batman have to sacrifice himself that would end up saving Lois Lane? Because it seems like that's kind of the triggering domino in all of this, and how all of that correlates with Batman, Joker, Darkseid, and Superman.
In that sequence that Cyborg saw, when, you know, it seems like Superman is holding like the charred, bony remains of what was once Lois, and Darkseid just walks behind him and puts his hand on his shoulder. Like, I thought that was a really trippy scene.
It's weird because in my mind, I'm like, I feel like the Superman I know and love, although Lois is everything to him, how would her death turn him completely to Darkseid like that? So I think there's something more to it. And Batman even says that when he was telling Wonder Woman about seeing Flash from the future. Wonder Woman Aquaman is like, yeah, she's like the key to Superman's heart. And he's like, I think it's something darker. So there's probably something bigger at play.
And the interesting thing with that is that line, something darker, was the name of that part of the movie.
Exactly. So it's important.
That moment too was good where they're like, oh crap, he's found us. And like at first you think it's like Darkseid or something. Like, oh, he's found, the Superman flies down and you're like, oh, okay, so it is like that. I see, okay.
I've already seen theories too pop up that Joker, when he's talking about like, I wonder how many alternate timelines you didn't sacrifice yourself. I'm already hearing theories that like they think that they're having Flash go back and forth, trying to change it, and they can't seem to fix it. I don't think that has happened yet, because I don't think Flash can just freely keep going back in time like that. Because after Flashpoint Paradox, he like promises himself to never do it again, because he changes everything. And although he goes back and fixes it, it never goes back to the way it originally was, which is why the Flashpoint movie would honestly be a great way for them to retcon anything they want for the coming DCEU. So I think this begs the big question, the biggest question that I think is coming from this video, the biggest question that's on everyone's mind after viewing the Snyder Cut. Should Warner Brothers restore the Snyderverse?
I think they should. With the way they left off with that, like, I feel like it's gonna be another The Fans Will Riot situation.
See, I already saw something when I was scrolling on the internet today on Facebook that said the WB has already come out saying they don't want to restore the Snyderverse. In my head, I'm thinking it's gotta be things like the Aquaman movie, for example. That retcons like everything that is talked about with Aquaman in the Snyder Cut. The other reason I was thinking they wouldn't want to restore the Snyderverse is because of movies like Shazam, where it caters more to like a younger audience. The problem with that is, to me, it's they're just trying to regurgitate Marvel's way of doing things, which I think works great for Marvel and their source material, but I don't know if it's going to do the same for DC. Because if you look at things like the Joker movie that was rated R, even the Harley Quinn TV show that's rated mature, I believe, and then the Snyder Cut. I'm not saying that all the DC stuff has to be rated R and that it has to be soaked in this dark atmosphere, but I think the source material does better in like a mature setting.
I love that you bring up the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, because I feel like that one really showed that you can have dark superhero movies in a way. Like, even though it wasn't necessarily a superhero movie, but it's like people will watch things that are more darker, more adult. They don't have to be kid friendly.
The mind craves to watch a tragedy every now and again. And you know, I think there are still good things to come from DC, like the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson. That tone, I think, matches the tone of the recent DC properties that have been successful. It's not going to be in the same universe, but that's what's great about DC. It's a multiverse. And that leads me to kind of my conclusion of why I believe they need to restore the Snyderverse, is because, bro, Darkseid, they revealed he's after the anti-life equation. And that is a huge deal, dude. This ain't no Thanos level power. He's not just trying to snap some people away in the universe. He's after control of the multiverse. We're talking some Final Crisis stuff here. So if he does that, with Flashpoint included, we have so many ways that they can retcon things, and so many ways to say, oh, this is happening on Earth 1. This is happening on Earth 52. And so we can have all of these stories. We can have our Snyderverse. Let that be its own universe, you know?
Yeah, because like, it's weird how they kind of shot themselves in the foot with the two cuts, where it's like divergent universes almost. And like, they chose to go with the crappier one. And now the genie is out of the bottle with the Snyder Cut. The fans are gonna be like, where's more of this shit? We know you're willing to do it since the Snyder Cut exists.
And we know that DC is willing to get crazy with crossing things over, because like I said, Ezra Miller was in the CW Flash's TV show. So, you know, we could have the CW verse on one Earth, the Snyder Cut on one Earth, the crappy cut of Justice League and all of the other DC properties we don't like on one Earth. Stuff like the new Titans show, that happening on a different Earth. And there's been little Easter eggs throughout these little properties that they want to connect them in a multiverse kind of way. And I think they need to do it, man. It's a win-win situation for everyone. And just another point real quick, the Snyder Cut set up the Flash movie way better than the other cut did, because the other cut had nothing to do with time travel. It didn't even show the Iris West scene. Like, Like, this makes me excited about a Flash movie coming out. So how can they say that the Flashpoint movie coming out is connected to the other movie but not Snyder Cut? No one's gonna want that. No one's gonna want to believe in that.
That's why, like I said earlier, it's almost like the fans will riot situation where they're like, they've seen something better. You can't, it's like that meme of like, you ask your mom, oh, hey, can we have this? But we have that at home. It cuts to the one you have at home way shittier.
So even though everyone's kind of saying that this might be the end of it, that this concludes Snyder's trilogy, I disagree. I think that the fans have teamed up once before to get the Snyder Cut, and we can do it again to restore the Snyderverse. It was hashtag Snyder Cut, and now it's hashtag restore the Snyderverse. They have the perfect character to tell not only the Snyder story, but as many stories as they want. Flash can open up the multiverse. Darkseid can destroy it. They have all the pieces here. They just need to do it.
There is one thing I want to mention just with Batman a little bit real quick. I love how they sort of leaned into the whole, like, he understands his superpower is him being rich. When Barry Allen asks him, oh, what's your power again? I'm rich. And when Superman is like, so, you know, how'd you get the farm back from the bank? I bought the bank.
Yeah, just to add some last minute notes about Batman from me as well. He was given such a better arc in this version. Just like the small lines he would give, like with Cyborg, the way he was just kind of boosting him up, you know, saying that you were destined to fly too. The way even that Bruce mentioned to Alfred when he was walking into the ship. He was like, faith. Batman's finally running on faith. Something he never does. He is all about calculated decisions, about being 3 steps ahead. So him running on faith, that's why too people need to understand that this is a Batman near the end of his journey. The fact that he's running on faith is a huge thing for Batman's story arc.
And the interesting thing too is I feel like it kind of shows how much the death of Superman sort of hit him.
Yeah, he's not always right, and there are big consequences to his actions. Well, I'm so excited that the Snyder Cut finally came out and we were finally able to enjoy it. I seriously think it was a masterpiece in storytelling. The 4 hours long couldn't have existed more perfectly in today's world. I'm so happy that Zack Snyder as an artist got to fulfill his vision, and it shows. I mean, just look at the ratings. These ratings blew apart the ratings of the other version. So, you know, it shows what can happen when an artist is allowed to follow their vision.
I bet you the executives noticed that too, the ratings difference.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying don't give up on restoring the Snyderverse. The executives will listen as long as we as fans don't give up.
Yeah, as long as we keep shouting in their ear, they're gonna have to listen at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let us know down in the comments below your thoughts and theories about this multiverse. Do you think it is worth restoring the Snyderverse and continuing with this story that Zack Snyder has laid out in front of us? Or do you think that it's kind of over and we should just leave it where it's at? Or do you think that this is just the beginning and that we're gonna get everything and all the different possibilities and Darkseid is gonna destroy it all? Let us know down below.
And on that note, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at JustisBand.
I hope everyone out there has an excellent week, and until next time,
Catch you